The information provided on this podcast is intended to be educational and informational only and is not considered to be formal legal advice. The listener should not take or refrain from taking action based on its content. Any listener in need of legal opinion upon which to rely in decision-making should consider formally engaging an attorney to review relevant facts in detail and examine the pertinent law as it applies to those facts.
So, you've decided you want more out of your life. More than the 9 to 5. More than paycheck to paycheck. More than lifelong debt. But that leaves questions. Where do I go from here? What can I do without any money, connections, or experience?
Our goal is not only to provide you with answers to those questions, but also to motivate people in an authentic way, mentor people who don't have mentors, give back, and hear some inspiring stories along the way.
If you're not going to show people what's possible, who is? My name is Iler.
And I'm April Munson, and this is Ground Zero.
Hi everyone, I have Danielle here with me today. Danielle and I go way back, I would say, like 12, 13, 15,
Yeah,
15
definitely something
years.
crazy amount of years.
My best friend, even though we don't see each other all the time, life happens, but I really wanted you to tell your story, whatever that looks like for you.
Okay.
I think back to when we first started working at McDonald's together and how you would call me every night after work, no matter what it was about. And then we would get to these points where we would be like, if this didn't happen, then this wouldn't have happened, and then this wouldn't have happened. And I love that we're able to go through those moments together. I think that's so important. And then I know when we were thinking about like, what moments can we talk about? And I'm like, well, those are it, right? Like we always go back and say, well, this wouldn't have happened in my life if this and whatever. And it's crazy because I remember crying with you so many times. And why can't we think of any sad moments
I know.
now? Like, are we in
So
such a
many
good place
tears.
in our life now where it's all fine? But just take a second and introduce yourself. Give like the 30-second pitch of who you are or whatever. And yeah.
Hi, my name is Danielle. As April said, we've been friends for a multitude of years. I can't even put a number on it, which is great. I'm currently a registered nurse, and I just switched out of labor and delivery, and now I work in orthopedics. And on my way back to school, hopefully. So that's where I'm at. I feel like I'm not a very interesting person, but
I want to go back to high school days that we were talking about before. So, as I said, in my experience, I felt like if I didn't have a plan at 18 and I was going to, not go through with college, then I was a failure, because that was kind of the message that I was getting from my teachers, was like, it's too hard to go back. You can't, you have to have your life figured out, and you've got to go do it, and you've got to do it now while you have the time or whatever. And, that just didn't work out for me. What was your experience with figuring out that career with your family or even on your own? Like, what was that experience for you?
Well, I kind of felt the same way, but I also thought I wanted to go to school right away. I thought it just the right
You
thing.
always knew you wanted to go to college?
I did. I thought that was the right thing to do and what I needed to do next, because that definitely was preached to us by our educators, my parents. My friends were filling out applications like, who are you going to room with? Are you guys going to the same school? So I just felt like that was something I had to do, but I also wanted to. However, I wanted to be a teacher. My third grade teacher, Mrs. Moses, I love you. She inspired me. She was such a great teacher, and I fully commend her for doing what she has done all these years and all the kids that she's touched, because she's the one that made me want to be a teacher. And while that obviously didn't work out because I told you I'm a nurse, but I still get to educate people every day in my career, so I do thank her for that.
So whenever we were getting to that point, well, actually, you were a grade lower than me.
Mm-hmm.
So you jumped into Slippery Rock, right? That was your
Yes.
first. And what was that experience like? Like moving out, roommate, like what was that for you?
So that part was great because I roomed with one of my best friends, Kelsey. We were going for the same thing. We knew each other. We were comfortable with each other. So this was exciting because it's nerve-wracking going to a new school, and what if you didn't know your roommate, which I know that's fun for a lot of people to, meet other people they don't know, but I've always been that person like, hey, will you do this with me? So it was comforting having her. And then like a year or so into it, I just kind of started to withdraw, not literally yet, but mentally. I just realized maybe this wasn't what I was supposed to do or supposed to do yet. And then I actually had some issues with financial aid and affording Slippery Rock. And so it came to a point where it was like, okay, if I'm going to get all these loans, is this really what I want to do? And it wasn't. I did some like very basic field work, and I was just like, I don't think this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I left. I didn't even really try hard to finish out my last fall semester there, which is really sad because I've never been like that. But so that was definitely a low point. I actually met my husband too at the end of that, so maybe that was distracted. But I just realized it wasn't what I could do at that point, so I stopped going. It was hard to tell Kelsey because we were so close, but thankfully at that point we've obviously made other friends there, so she had another group of friends that, you know, she wasn't going to be completely alone. She understood, hey, like, this is me right now, like, the financials weren't in line for me to be there right now. So I told her, and my family understood because they, you know, unfortunately couldn't help me financially. They've done as much as they could for me all these years, you know, and I don't blame them for that at all. My dad took out loans for me and stuff, but it just wasn't meant to be at that time, as I say. So I definitely had a good support system. My dad just wanted me to go to school. He's always like, you have to go to school. Like, don't end up like me working, you know, the way I work. I want you to go to school.
So whenever you left, and that was also where husband comes along. Well, not husband yet. You guys were just, you know, were you kind of like, I'm not even worried about my education right now. I don't really care where life goes. I'm just going to work. Like, what was that like for you?
That kind of exactly what was going on. I was like, I'm just going to work. Unfortunately, I was still at McDonald's. Love you. I was a shift manager at McDonald's, and then I also had a second job. I was working at the hospital in the kitchen, and that's where I met my husband. And I was working 2 jobs for a while until I couldn't do it anymore. It was just too mentally taxing, and I just went back to McDonald's for a while. And I was like, I don't know what I want to do. And I was kind of like that for a good 6 to 8 months. And then I was like, I have to do something with my life. I don't know what I want to do. And for some reason, the medical field just kind of drew me in. So I started at the very bottom as a medical assistant. I went to school. It was like a tech school, really short schooling. It was like less than a year. So I got my certificate in that. And then I started in urology, and I just fell in love with being able to help people medically. And I did medical assisting for a couple of years, and I started realizing I can do more than this. Like, I'm going to be a nurse. This is what I'm meant to do. I can't stop here. I want to be a nurse. So I started taking classes at BSC3, just a local community college, to get some of my basic courses so I can apply to nursing school. And then finally got to the point where I was done with that. I applied and took the test to get into nursing school, and I got in. That's been my life since. 2 years in nursing school was not easy. All I did was study, and I still worked full time, but I studied every single day. I had no life, but it was definitely worth it.
No, I think it's so worth it for you. And I think about this, it's like I was obviously there through all of it, but hearing it now, I feel like maybe there might have been some time in there where maybe you did feel lost, even though I feel like you've always had it together, where you were just like, I'm not doing anything.
Right.
And I feel like that can be a good thing, and not necessarily a bad thing, but we're almost not even aware of like the time that goes on.
Right.
You know, I think that's something we can just look back on now. It's
Absolutely.
like that time is so important, and in the moment you're just like, I'm just so in it. It's fine. But hearing you say that now, I'm like, oh, I wish I could have jumped in those like 2 to 3 year gap and been like, hey, let's do something amazing. And you might have been like, April, I don't want to hear it right now. I'm good. So now I want to talk about, you know, even though you kind of jumped in, took a break, you know, it's been this nice like push and pull for you, where like you allow yourself to do what you want. You give yourself that time to like really feel things out, but it doesn't really seem like it was ever like too difficult professionally to get to where you are. You're just kind of like, I want to try this, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, I'm just going to do whatever.
Right.
Graduating, I feel like in school, you were someone that everyone was friends with, right? Like you are like, everyone knows Danielle. Danielle's friends with everybody. Danielle. So what is that like, graduating and having this great friend group, and then like making decisions that maybe not all of your friends were supportive of, like what was that effect on you? And even through up till now, like the variations of support from friends.
I do feel like I've always been very lucky to have people that supported me, even if they didn't understand it. Nursing school is probably the hardest because, like I said, I couldn't do a whole lot besides study. So sometimes, maybe the closest people just didn't maybe not understand.
I didn't.
Right, that I couldn't drop, couldn't just drop what I was doing, or I couldn't be at certain events because I was literally with my head in a book up until 3 a.m. the night before an exam studying. Many sleepless nights, just stressful nights of working and then worrying about studying and worrying I was going to fail, because that's always been like my mentality before I go into an exam. Like, I'm totally going to bomb it. I come out, I was like, I totally bombed it, and then I get it back and it was like a 90-some%. And I'm like, okay, I didn't bomb it, but mentally I always felt like I was going to fail. And nursing school is the one area in my life where I said, I don't care what it takes. I have to get through this. I'm not going to spend the money. I'm not going to waste my time, waste everybody else's time, because I'm not able to do things if I can't graduate and do this. Yeah. So I've always been very lucky to have that support. As we get older, I still have that support, and I feel like we're all kind of in that time in our lives where it's like, are we done with school? Do we want to go back to school? I know April and I have always had this in common, where we just always want more. There's so many things we want to do. So many things. Like, I can't even begin to explain all the things I want to do, because it's just running around in my head. But I'm definitely not done. I know that. So that's where I'm at.
Let's talk about relationships.
Okay.
Because I think you were the first person, at least in my group, in my world, that settled, not
right.
settled, but you were married, and that's
down.
like a whole new world. I mean, I'm not even married. What was that like for you to be, like kind of the only one going through that, where there's not other people that you're really like relating to? Like, everyone's either, dating or not or whatever, but like you've got this other thing going on, and prioritizing the time with now having a family and career and all of that. What is that like for you?
So it was very scary. I was the only one going through it. My husband was in the military, and I was 21. He's 6 years older than I am. And we had to do what we had to do to stay together, because orders were going to be coming up. Then he knew that he wanted to be with me, and I knew I wanted to be with him. So he proposed, and a month to the day later, did I say that right? I don't know. Anyway, the very next month after getting engaged, we were married. Went to Georgia with my parents, got married at the courthouse. And I just remember driving that day. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm getting married. I know people that are married, but I'm not close with anyone that's married because I'm 21 years old. So I was the only one. I did feel like, but I also felt like nothing really changed, because people were in relationships or they weren't. And I've always been the type, and my husband, I'm so grateful for, has always been very accepting of my friends and wanting me to have time with my friends. And while we love each other and want to spend time together too, we always have separate time to spend with our friends, or he'll hang out with me and my friends too, and they love him too, so it works. But it was scary to be alone, I didn't know what to do, and then I was like, we were going to try and plan a wedding ceremony, and just realizing how much that cost, and me still wanting to go to school and do all these other things. That hasn't happened yet, but hopefully for our 10-year in 3 years. We're gonna try. We'll see.
I remember like laying in bed with you, and this whole thing is happening, and we're picking out like color schemes and themes and planning this whole thing.
And I'm the most indecisive person ever. If you ask me right now what colors or anything I'd wanted, I couldn't tell you. And then I would make up my mind, and I will change it tomorrow, because I just don't know. I am the most indecisive person. I like so many things, and that's the problem. Like, I love these light colors, but I also like these dark colors, and I want it all. I can't have it all. I have to minimize.
Yeah. So. I don't know if this is something that would be off limits. So,
okay.
like, if it is, that's fine. What was your experience with coming in with your husband already having a little girl and now being a stepmom? And that's a whole new role, too, for being 21. And I remember like going with you to the park and having dates, and there's now the car seat in the back seat. Yes. Were there people that just didn't understand, and like what was that like for you?
I feel like everyone at least tried to understand, even if they didn't understand fully themselves. I think I was like most nervous to tell my parents at first when I met Tyler because he had a child, and things are definitely different now. Most everybody has children, and if you get in a relationship, that's just the norm. However, I feel like 7 years ago now that wasn't the norm, especially I was 21. But I love her as if she's my own, and I'm Danny to her, and she's always been great to me. So it helped meeting her at 4 years old because she was, just happy, and she didn't care. Not that she didn't care, but she was like, oh, I have this other person in my life that I get to love and that loves me. So I feel like everybody has been pretty understanding about it.
Yeah. So let's talk about the point where we are now, where you just bought a house.
Mm-hmm.
I know, not just. Has it been a while?
December.
Okay.
17th.
So it hasn't been a whole year yet.
No.
I was like, man, life just goes by so fast. Sometimes I'm like, man, was that a whole year ago? Or was that only 6 months ago? So you have the house, you are established, like this is where you are. Just 2 weeks ago, we're talking about wanting to go back to school and having a home and family. Let's talk about being, I guess, a year away from 30,
mm-hmm.
and people are saying, well, when are you going to have kids?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, if you're doing so much in your career, that's not enough because you don't have kids.
Right.
Or if you have kids, then you need to be home with them or doing more. Like, it's such like a push and pull battle. What is that like for you? While being a stepmom and wanting to continue to do more and having the mindset that you want to kind of have things a little figured out if you have the ability to do so, what's that experience?
I think like you said, it's all mental right now. Thankfully I don't have too many people in my life close to me that are like, when are you gonna have kids? Are you having kids? Like our parents are really great and don't pressure us at all. And I have a dog, so that's what I do. Love you, but mentally I'm like, okay, I'm 28, I'm gonna be 29 in December. But I also want to go back to my master's, which could be 2 years or so. So do I want to finish that before I have kids, or do I want to have a child in the middle of that and kind of worry about having to study and do papers and things like that while completing my degree? Because I have a job, I have a great career without having my master's, but I do want to further it. So we're just kind of like, we don't know. I guess that's the best way to put it.
And that's totally okay.
We're just going with it. Go with the flow.
Yeah. What would you say to someone? And I guess you could talk about different points if you wanted to, but for being 18, what is your best advice for figuring out your life? Girl or boy, it doesn't matter. Like, what would you say to that person if they were like, what do I do? How do I know this is right? What's the best thing for me?
I would say take a step back and really, really think about your goals and what you want to do. I wish I would have done that more at 18 instead of just like, oh, this is absolutely what I want. I know this for sure, because I had no idea. And we don't know. And sometimes you don't know until you try. Going to Slippery Rock, at first felt like a failure because I, eventually left and I didn't finish the degree I had sought out for. I realized it was the best thing that ever happened, like we said, because now I'm in the right career path that I found that that's where I'm meant to be. So really just take a step back, listen to your heart. Don't listen to anybody else about what they're doing. I mean, listen to them, but don't let them pressure you into thinking that's what you need to do. If you need to take 6 months before you apply to school, take those 6 months, find out who you are, get out in the real world, work a little bit, and get some life experience if you are struggling to make a decision.
I thought about this the other day. Now that I'm talking on Rock Vision, and the show is geared toward 18 and younger, and it's called Talking to the Younger Me, I was like, okay, what is my first show going to be about? What's my first message going to be? And what I came up with was the decisions that you make for your life are not a group project.
Absolutely.
I've always hated group projects. I feel like I've always been
the one that does the most work.
Yes.
Oh, you got an A. We got an A. No, I got an A.
Yes. And I've talked to other people where they were like, I like group projects because then I don't have to be responsible for everything. And then I'm like, I hate them because I just automatically do feel responsible for everything.
And that's the thing. I would rather just be responsible for myself.
Yeah. And sometimes it's hard to allow yourself to take that leadership role in your own life.
Right.
When there's so many other outside people whoever telling you, well, you need to do this because this is what's best for you, and you need to do that. But then at the end of the day, you're the one staring at the wall, having to live this life, whatever it was that you went with. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, yes, group projects are very collaborative and whatever, and everyone has a little piece of it, or they're supposed to have a piece of it. And the decisions that you make for your life are not a group project. They're not. I think having support is important, and listening to different perspectives is important.
Right.
But you are the leader of your own life, and I feel like that has always been my biggest struggle. I don't know. I would go as far as to say that was never a struggle for you. I think you were like, I want to do this. I don't want to do that. I'm going to try it. I'm going to take it. It's fine. Whatever. I don't know. Have you ever felt like people were telling you what you had to do? Did that ever get to you? Or were you always kind of like, I know what I want to do, and if not, I kind of know what else, this is what my plan.
Right. Kind of feel like both in a sense. No one ever said like, oh, you have to. But like I said, my friends were going to college, and that's what we're preached to by our educators. You have to go to school to have a great job. This is what you're supposed to do at 18 years old. So you can be done by 21 or however old you are to start your life. And I think we're realizing now, no, you can be 50 years old and go back to school and reach your goals. Age is nothing. And I think people who go back later in life do better because they have those life experiences. And they're not me going in, I'm going to be a teacher. Then it's like, no, I'm not. I don't want to do this. And I wasted money. I wasted time. But then I did, I learned those things about myself.
Yeah.
However, I will say, I've always been a people pleaser. That's the downfall of mine. I don't like letting people down. I don't know how to say no. And if somebody wants me to go do something when really I should be doing something else for myself, I'll go do that thing for them. So in that sense, I feel like I've always kind of struggled with being that people pleaser. And, instead of taking care of myself, I try to take care of everyone else.
I feel like you're getting to this point now, though, where you're like, I'm so good with what I've got, and now I want this, and I'm kind of okay with being like, I'm happier to just be home. Sorry. Not sorry.
Definitely where I've gotten to, and I don't know if that's age, just being more comfortable. Like I said, since we bought our house, and I don't want to leave because I'm comfortable here. I mean, I want to leave. I'm not like I'm definitely not introverted to the point where I don't leave my house.
Oh, your house is so cozy. I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave.
And I love going out and doing things and spending time with people. But I am getting to that point where I'm like, I have to prioritize myself, because at the end of the day, I realize the mental struggles I'm dealing with are from me being too open to others. And you can't pour from an empty cup. And that's the truest statement out there. So if I need to stay home to rest instead of going out to do something because I have a project coming up, that's what I need to do. If I need to save money because I'm going back to school, that's what I need to do. And instead of going on a trip or going out to eat all the time, which I really am bad at too. Trying to be better at.
So is there anything that you want to do for yourself before the end of this year? Like, I know it's June, but between now and December 31st, what are like 3 things that you want to do for yourself? It doesn't have to be professional, just like anything. Like, I want to do this more. This will make me feel better. I want to try this. Like, what is that for you?
Well, number one, unfortunately, is professional. But I just applied for my bachelor's degree, and I'm hoping to have that done by December-ish. May go a little longer.
Wait, did we talk about this?
I thought we did.
Like, you applied for it?
I did apply, yes.
So you are going back to school?
I should be.
Wait,
hopefully,
what?
I'm just waiting to find out everything. I don't know.
Where?
I'm provisionally accepted. It's an online program.
Okay.
So it's competency-based, so you can work your own pace, and you can get as many classes done as you can in a 6-month period for a flat rate. So I'm really hoping to just get in as much as I can, because unfortunately, for a bachelor's degree for nursing, it doesn't really change anything for me besides getting that piece of paper that I need so I can go on for my master's. So hopefully by December 31st, I'll be applying for my master's or finding out what I need to do to apply for the master's program starting that fall. That's something I want to work on. I need to work on my nutrition and exercise, not necessarily to lose weight, but to make myself feel better, because I eat a lot of things and drink a lot of things coffee-wise.
I'm sorry.
I love coffee.
I brought iced coffee.
But just things that don't make me feel the best at the end of the day. So that's definitely something I want to work on. And what else? Saving money. Really trying to get better about that to support my future and at least get me through until where I'm more comfortable.
Yeah. What inspires you on days where you're like, oh, I just don't know if I, just not even like work related, but you're like, I'm tired. I don't feel like I want to do anything. What is like, this is going to get me going?
Definitely my friends doing great things. I think of them. I'm like, if they could, not that if they can do it, I can do it too, but just that kind of,
That energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Positive energy, being around positive people. That's definitely a big motivator. My husband motivates me just talking about the future and what we want for ourselves. Honestly, I know social media is big. I try and follow a lot of people, especially on Instagram. You can really connect to people by the tags and stuff and you just kind of look in their life. Those things motivate me too, which may sound weird, but
no, it doesn't. Who are some of your favorite accounts?
I love Holly Gabrielle. She's a nurse. I follow her. She's one that got me through for nursing. Honestly, my friend who's local here to me in the city that I live in, Emily, she's a NICU nurse going back for her master's. She motivates me. We walk the track sometimes at night, just talking about our future goals. So definitely just being around those positive people who are doing things in life that they want to do.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, perfect. Is there anything else that you would want to say to anyone about their experience or life, or maybe like friend groups? Can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah.
Like maybe, talk about how you're not mean by walking away from what is not good for you. Do you have anything to say about that?
That is something I'm still struggling with. As I said, I'm a people pleaser. So I'm just, trying to, like I said, take more time for myself and my husband, because sometimes as great as he is about, like he doesn't care, hang out with friends, but he's also here like, hey, I'm your husband, maybe we should spend a weekend together. So I try and get better. I'm trying to get better about things like that too. Because like I said, we don't have to be, connected at the hip 24/7. That's not how we've ever been. The military is one of the best things that happened to us, because we both individualized, grew individually and together at the same time. Because I'm just very independent from that. Sometimes it's still hard to lean on him and be dependent on him, because I just feel like I have to be independent. That's just always how I've been.
Yeah.
But I'm the type of person, I could go and sit somewhere by myself, or I can go to the store by myself, go shopping, do all those things by myself for myself mentally.
Yeah, it's really important. I'm so proud of you.
Aww,
and thank you. And like where we came from, and all of those nights we were like, I don't know if this is good for me, or like I can't make it. It's all fine. Like we're here.
Stupid relationships. And
the
things that we thought were the center of our lives.
Okay. Let's jump back a little bit. Do you have anything to say to anyone about relationships when you're younger and balancing school? I've never talked to anyone about this yet, because I don't think I've been as close with anyone about this. Do you have any thoughts about that? I think the first thing that comes to mind is like not living for somebody else.
Right.
Were you ever in a spot where you felt like you were kind of like living for a significant other and putting all that weight on them and not doing what you wanted for yourself?
I can't say that I have. I've been very lucky in that sense. I mean, there's times when I think back to our McDonald's days, we're crying in our bedroom or on the nasty McDonald's floor about guys I thought that or a guy I thought I wanted to be in a relationship with, or how you're 16 or 17 and you're just crushing over this guy and you're doing, things that maybe necessarily aren't you, because you're trying to conform to what their lifestyle is, because you're trying to become more appealing to them.
Okay, now I remember. I don't know. Curling our hair to try and look like a girl, because a guy that we like is, liking her pictures, and we have to get the perfect. But this was also like 12 years ago.
This is also teenage years when, like I said, there's crushing, heartbreaks or whatever, because.
And I look back now and I'm like, we really did this at like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Like, and then we're both in a relationship now where we realize how things are supposed to be.
Yeah.
We've grown so much mentally, emotionally. Yeah. We learned how to take care of ourselves instead of, just trying to take care of that other person.
I think all of that growth too, like you almost like need to go through those things.
You
like
do,
that
absolutely.
to get to being at a point where you are confident with who you are, what you're doing, why you're doing it, figuring out where you want to go, the decisions you make for yourself personally and professionally. I feel like there's no other way to really get there other than going through those low moments. But it's really nice if you have the, you know, great support along the way.
But not everybody has that.
Right, and having to go through that is, I think, why we're so close, because I didn't have that. So you were the family that I needed when I didn't have that. I mean,
my mom, she loves me.
And your
And her
mom.
pasta salad.
And the pasta salad. And the late nights at McDonald's where I was off the clock working to like help close.
Just to spend time together.
Right. Yeah, because that's
what we did.
What we did to get through those.
Because we could talk about everything that was going on in our head while one of us is working.
Yeah.
Because we can't get off because we're making.
But don't text her; she won't answer you.
Hey, I'm gonna try to be better. But I'm also trying to be better about being off of
the
my
phone. Yeah.
When I'm with people.
Well,
I need to be more present.
We literally just said, I think it's been like how long? Like 5 years since we've taken a picture together. Let's just like do this like right now. So that we have to.
We have to.
And we're gonna be like, hey, we'll delete that later.
I know.
Like, how are we here? We'll take more later. You know, do all the faces.
16.
All right. I want to thank you so much for talking and sharing all of this with us. And where can we find you? If anyone wants to follow along or connect with you or have questions about anything, what is the best place to find you, reach you?
Probably my Instagram.
Okay.
It's real original. Nicole Hazen. There's my first, middle, last name. If not, I have Facebook too. Danielle Hazen, look me up. Like I said, I probably came off as very boring, but I'm not. And I'm here if anybody just needs to ask questions or you feel like you don't know where you're going in life, because I don't either, but we can figure it out.
All right. Thanks everyone for watching.
Thank you.
Bye.